Alright, we're back here at the LTD. If you didn't see the last video, we kind of fired it up and there was gas pretty much pouring out of the carburetor. So I went ahead and I got myself a new Super China carburetor. This thing was about 80 bucks on eBay, I think. And it's a 2150 Ford carburetor, so it should bolt up. I haven't looked at it too close, but it should be basically the same. There are a few differences I can see straight away, but that should be fine. And I also, in addition to that, got a rebuild kit for that carburetor, because that carburetor will eventually go back on here, but I didn't feel like rebuilding it now just to get it running. So we're gonna see if we can slap this thing on and get it running, at least so we can move it, and then rebuild that one later. But before we do that, I'm gonna have to get all the old gas out of the tank and all the lines here, so that we don't put a bunch of old gas into a brand new carburetor. So I've got this little electric fuel pump, 8 bucks on eBay. We'll pump out all the old fuel out of the tank, and I'll probably throw it in my Buick or something and burn it through there. But yeah, these things come in handy. I got one on the Oldsmobile for its fuel pump, and I mean, it works great. And for 8 bucks, you can't go wrong. So I bought 3 of them just to have them. So let's go ahead and hook that up and see if we can drain all this gas out of here. Yeah, I should be able to pull that off, put my little fuel pump on it, add a little bit of line into a tank, and yeah, drain it right out. This is my fancy super light. I got a headlight, an LED headlight for a car, and a bunch of 18650 batteries here to get me the voltage I need. It works pretty good. But let's go ahead and get that gas drained so we can get that carburetor on here. Alright, I got my little fuel pump hooked up here. Looks like it's leaking a little bit from the inlet, but yeah, whatever, it's an old hose. I'll probably see if I can replace that hose before I hook it back up, but I got it hooked up and going into a can here. So let's see if she'll pump. Sounds like it's pumping. I don't see too much in the way of leaks. Seems to be doing pretty good. You can hear it going into the can, so sweet. We'll get all that old gas out of there, and then we'll swap the carbs out. Well, there we go. It's almost a full can, and I think we got the majority of it out there. There was still a little bit, but the pump started getting noisy, and it wasn't pumping much out. So I think we got the majority of what was in the tank, and the rest I'm going to put 5 gallons of fresh gas in there, and that should dilute pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and unhook my pump and take this and dump it in the Buick, because it should still burn, especially if I mix it with fresh stuff. And then we can go ahead and start ripping that carburetor off. Alright, I got my fuel pump removed, and I got a brand new shiny fuel line on down there. So let's go ahead and see if we can't get this carburetor off and get the new one on. I'll just have to transfer a couple of things. I'll have to transfer this, that, a few vacuum caps, and yeah, then we can put the new one on and see how it works. Alright, I should have everything switched over from the old Carb to the new one. Let's go ahead and throw her on. We can see if it works. Alright, the new carburetor's sitting on there. There were a few differences. This little crank vent here, my tube didn't want to go on there because this nipple's a little bit longer, so I just capped it off for now. And the kickdown linkage doesn't seem to be really doing anything, but I shouldn't have to bother with that right now anyway. Just fire it up and see if it runs. And the choke plug-in was a little bit different, but that's no big deal really. I got it plugged in, so it should work. But we got that on. We got gas in it. I put a battery in it. So let's go ahead and crank it up and see if it'll fire. It should probably take a minute to fill the carb bowl up and actually get it to run, but we'll see what we can do. Alright, dumped some gas in it. Probably too much. Came out a little quick, but let's go ahead and see if it'll fire now. Burns like a kitten. Not bad for not even touching the screws on the carburetor. Let's go ahead and see if we can move this thing out. Well, there it is. First time it's seen the light of day in a couple of years anyway. It don't look too bad. A little dirty. But yeah, we'll get her washed off and cleaned up a little bit anyway. Sweet.